Hey, race fans, Hall of Famer Darrell Waltrip here. You know, it's time to drop the green flag on another edition of Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic. So, hey, pull those belts tight one more time. Here's my buddy Hermie Sadler and Senator Bill Stanley. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's see what they have to say, boys and girls.
I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
You're not going to laugh over top of my intro.
No, I'm sorry. I stepped on it.
Former NASCAR driver and Fox Sports analyst Hermie Sadler, and I'm turning left.
And this is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by
Pace-O-Matic.
There you go.
Pace-O-Matic is an entertainment company which develops gaming software that players love to play, and people can use their skills to win every single time. Plus, these games of skill provide vital revenue to keep family-owned businesses like bars, restaurants, convenience stores, and truck stops thriving in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Hi, Hermie.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
If people only knew.
I know. I don't even know what it took to get here today. Our new producer, Colin Hendrickson Stanley, is right here with us. He had to drive up after pulling a 24-hour gig. He's a paramedic, drives all the way up here. We're going to start a certain period of time. We're a little bit later, but, that doesn't matter in the podcast world because when they listen to this, they don't know that it's 2 o'clock down. We thought we were going to start about noon, but
and the good news is that's not too far. Nothing's really changed
on Eastern Stanley time, I think.
From the way it's always been.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah.
So, but he had a big day, big night. So we're happy to have Colin here, and it's good to be together. And quite frankly, we are not in our usual spots. We're actually together. We're here in Richmond, here at my apartment. I'm getting ready for a federal criminal trial that's going to go a couple weeks right into the Christmas season. Very important case. Been working on very hard. And I'm glad you made it up here so that we could be together. Now, we're missing Shep Moss.
Shep Moss.
Shep Moss is not here with us. He is actually, what is he doing?
He is emceeing, however it is that you do this, like emceeing events surrounding the Christmas parade in South Hill, Virginia.
Like on TV, radio, or just to the general public?
I think to the people there in South Hill.
Oh, okay.
Which is good for him. It's that time of year for parades and localities, and South Hill always has a really good parade. The rest of my family's up there. Cora's got her cheerleaders in the parade as well. So South Hill does a good job. But
will there be a float that's the Shep Moss float that on the back of the tractor trailer, there's just like a pile of documents that are on fire from South Hill government?
Knowing Shep probably, but I don't know.
Shep Burn Pile Moss, that's
Burn Pile Moss.
That's where he made his fame. He made his little note when he fights the government, even though he's a part of it.
Yeah. I do have one small bone to pick with you.
Oh, wow. Really surprised.
One small bone. Last week, at the end of the show, you knew before we started taping that I had a lunch to go to.
Right.
In Colonial Heights.
You did.
And so I had told you the whole time that I'm going to this lunch. I'm leaving at this time because I'm not yet at the point in my life like you are that you can just expect people to wait on you all the time. So, and in typical fashion, as we ran up on this hour that I needed to leave, that's when you started your weekly, 27-minute into the show. So I got up and left.
You did.
And if not the first, the second thing out of your mouth to Shep Moss was, you and I should do this show.
Well, yeah.
So I think that's something we need to have a conversation about.
Well, we finally had some oxygen in the room where we could talk.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes you dominate.
Yeah.
And
I think you need to maybe look into that. I think
the senator.
Shep and the senator. See what kind of heat you can get with the podcast with, no pun intended, with his burn pile.
Right.
I think that is something that you had 5 minutes with me not there, and you could have gone anywhere with it.
Right.
And you went hey, let's just dream here for a second. What it would be like if we didn't have Hermie.
If everybody listened to last week's podcast, you know exactly what he's talking about. Just go to the end if you haven't heard the whole podcast. We had an interesting conversation. We started having fun.
Last week's podcast was great.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. And, you know, I think we need to do a deeper dive sometime about being dads, because I think we're just scratching the surface and we're getting to where I think we can have even a greater conversation and certainly reflect upon us as being fathers. For those out there who are fathers and know those, you know, Shep's got a great story too.
Yeah.
About those that when, you know, families need families, you know, what kind of advice you can provide to them as well. But I thought it was a great podcast too. I listened to it on the way up to Richmond, and it was so good. I listened to it again. And so I hope everybody is looking through our catalog. We've got 43 shows done in the books. We're going to finish out this year with about 50, which is 50 out of 52 weeks. That's pretty impressive for a podcast. We don't take breaks because we're talking about today's events and tomorrow's what we expect and tomorrow's.
But I do want people's feedback on what they think about the fact that you took your first opportunity to try to kick me to the curb.
I was
and
not kicking you to the curb.
You know, you and Shep, that might be a home run for y'all.
I love Shep, but this is not a show without Sadler. You know, you're the hook. I mean, you're the superstar.
But that's not what you said.
You're the superstar.
No.
We're just the lowly government officials.
Yeah.
You're the guy. You're the guy that's done all these great things, been all the great tracks, raced, won, a champion, Fox Sports analyst. I mean, these are things that we would aspire to do.
But you didn't remember that when you had the floor at the end of last week's show.
Out of sight, out of mind, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what we were doing. But we had a good time, and Shep's always fun to have on the show. We do not have Shep today because he's doing that, of course, parade. But we wish Shep the best, and we'll have him on next time. But we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'll say, so what's the what can people expect on the leaning right moments of the show today? Then I'll tell you a couple things about what's coming up for Turning Left.
I think what we're going to talk about today is what is on everybody's mind, or should be on everybody's mind, which is Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. And because Twitter was a platform that supposedly was created for the protection of free speech and a platform for everybody to express themselves, has now become a government type of instrument to suppress speech. Elon Musk is now releasing, of course, the inner workings of Twitter when it came to the 2020 campaign with the Hunter Biden laptop. And I think there's so many far-reaching implications, not just on privacy, not just on free speech, not just on the ability to talk and to express yourself, but also government interference and campaign interference. We've heard from 2016 and even further campaigns back that there is campaign interference from the Russians or campaign interference of the political process from other outside entities. What bothers me and what we'll talk about today is actually what we're seeing is this platform was being altered and suppressed from within our government, from within the Biden campaign. And I think it's a bigger conversation that we're going to have is what are we going to be as a society if we're going to create these social platforms and then suppress somebody's ability to express themselves, even when we don't like it on those platforms.
In the Turning Left moments later today, sponsored by Vista Installations. You know, this past week was the NASCAR Awards banquet week over in Nashville. We have news coming out of that. We'll talk about most popular drivers for all three divisions. We'll talk about some other awards, some other people got that I thought were pretty important in the overall landscape of NASCAR racing. Talk a little bit about Jimmy Johnson, who's back in the news, back on the scene in NASCAR, and also January 7th, the Smart Modified Tour banquet coming up in Winston-Salem. We'll talk a little bit about that as well.
Oh, great. Am I invited?
No.
Okay. I'm just wondering. Are you going to go?
No.
Well, why not?
Are you going?
I don't know. I didn't know. I mean, it's getting ready for...
Okay, well, I'll say that too. I don't know.
Okay. Well, then we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll go together.
I
mean, we finished 6th. Should show up. Why wouldn't we show up? Now, I don't know what I'm doing that day. I might be booked. My wife is going to determine my schedule.
That's what I'm saying. You always say that to me. Are you going? And I'm asking you, are you going? You right now. I got to know right now.
You just got to know about a banquet.
I got to know right now. Got to know right now.
I didn't know.
Are you going?
Yeah, Colin is asking what day. Put it on my calendar, Colin. I don't know.
It's January 7th.
Okay. Not January 6th. Can't have it on the 6th.
January 7th.
Democrats hate January 6th. So
January 7th.
Let me ask you a question. How's your campaign going? And let me preface this. I've been working on this court case for like a month, so I've been kind of out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's a very important court case involving the liberty and freedom of a gentleman accused of bribery of a public official. I'm not the public official. I'm the lawyer representing somebody accused of it. I think he's been wrongly charged, and we've been preparing this case. So I've kind of been out of the loop. I know I've kind of even pulled back from other things that are going on, and that leaves me not a lot of time to talk to you. But, I see what's going on Facebook. You're running for office for the first time. Just tell me what's going on. How's it going?
Yeah, well, I'm learning as I go. Obviously, when I announced back in November at the Event Info Show that you were so kind enough to attend, I knew kind of what
I gave one of the greatest political opening speeches of a lifetime.
Okay, I agree.
Oh, I'm glad you agree.
I kind of knew what I was signing up for. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of commitment. But I've enjoyed, right now we're in a little bit of a downtime. We had the announcement.
Holidays will do that.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is, luckily, there have been individuals in different parts of the district, 17th district, the new 17th district, that have reached out and have shown interest in hosting like events at their homes, fundraisers, events, parties, cocktails, those kind of things. And I have been planning some of those. I have attended some of those. Outside of that, I just been going to the committee meetings in different parts of the district, letting people in each district, learn more about me and why I'm running and what I'm passionate about. And so I think this is going to be a situation where we're out trying to, tell our story one person at a time and one group at a time. And so far, the reception has been great. The fundraising part of it, even through the holidays, has been much better than I anticipated. The support has been overwhelming and humbling in a lot of ways. And so, but that's what I've been doing and will continue to do probably through Christmas. Is not. We won't really finalize the next steps of our plan as far as a campaign until we know what the nomination method will be. And so that's what I've been doing is going to visit, talk, trying to learn as much as I can. I learn every day something about this process. So once we know what the nomination method is, then we'll have a better idea of how to prepare our campaign, for that. But I just got to say, so far, I went last week on Thursday night. I went down to Portsmouth. This district the new 17th is a long district. It's got portions of Portsmouth and Chesapeake, Suffolk, Isle of Wight, city of Franklin, Southampton County, Brunswick, Emporia, Greensville, part of Dinwiddie. It's a long piece. But I had an opportunity last Thursday night to go to the GOP committee Christmas dinner down in Portsmouth.
How'd that go?
It was great. It was great. We had dinner and I met a lot of new people that I hadn't met before because Portsmouth is not, I don't know a lot about the political atmosphere or don't know a lot of people in politics in Portsmouth yet. And
Louise
so
Lucas is in politics.
well, she wasn't at that meeting.
Really?
I don't know why.
I'm shocked.
She was not there, but I met
Republicans. Are you kidding me?
Lawton Baker and a lot of other people affiliated with the GOP unit there in Portsmouth. They were great. They put on a great event, and then they gave me an opportunity to speak, at the end.
I saw that on Facebook. You did a really good job.
Yeah. So that's been fun. And then Friday night, I think you saw my wife and kids and I and some of our friends went back to that area of the state, down to Hampton to see my old buddy Phil Vassar. He and Dina Carter played a Christmas show down there. And if you
Strawberry wine?
Strawberry wine.
Oh, wow.
Dina Carter. So, I had talked to you in the past about Phil Vassar at some point. He's offered to do a fundraiser for me and or us at the appropriate time, whenever we're ready. And Phil is some people may not know, is a native Virginian born in Lynchburg. And he's gone on to do great things in country music, not only his own records, like Just Another Day in Paradise and those kind of things, but he's written a number of number one hits. Like
for other people?
Joe D. Messina like 5 of her number 1 hits were written by Phil Vassar.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And he's written some songs for Tim McGraw, some of his number 1s. He's got more number 1s that he wrote than he actually recorded.
Kind of like a Willie Nelson kind of thing.
Yeah.
Willie wrote, for so many people before he became a star.
But what an entertainer. So those of you that are on social media can go to either my Facebook or my Twitter page and see that Phil and I did a little video prior to his concert the other night where he talks about coming to bring the whole band, the whole works, and to do a fundraiser for us at the appropriate time. And Phil Vassar loves Virginia, because people are going to say I see other people that are getting ready to run for office. They're throwing out endorsements, from other politicians and former governors and all that. And I'm
Way early.
yeah. And I'm sure somebody may be thinking, what difference does it make if Phil Vassar likes Hermie Sadler? I mean, Phil Vassar is a Virginian.
Yeah.
And he loves Virginia, and he thinks that I can be a positive influence in Richmond. He's got family that still lives in Virginia, friends. And so he offered, I didn't even ask, he offered and said, man, I appreciate you standing up and doing what you're doing. How can I help? I want to help. So I think that's awesome. But we had a good time. Phil's always great. He's been a great friend for many, many years.
Thanks for the invitation too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
No.
But you just said yourself that your new lifestyle in this new case has prevented you from having any time to talk to me. So if you don't have time to talk, you sure don't have time to get in the van and go to Hampton to a concert.
I agree. And we're sitting.
And this is about the third Phil Vassar event I've invited you to. The last one was right here in Richmond.
Correct.
While you were in Richmond.
Also correct.
And you did not show up.
That's right. Well, if you see behind you, there is a pile of files and boxes of notebooks for this trial. This is a pretty big trial. So as you know, especially in your case, when I get very focused as an attorney in my real job, when somebody puts their trust in me, pays me, I get very passionate about their case, like I got for yours. And my focus is entirely on that. Sometimes to the neglect of, my family, even or my friends, and my wife is completely understanding and very calm about it. But I'm very intense when I get ready for a court case. So yes, so I apologize for that. But what I did notice, getting back to your political experiences, and before, I did notice that you had balls. That you have balls, and people can get your balls. And for a guy that won't read the manscaped.com commercials that we're going to read today, for you to put your balls out there for people to get, especially in this campaign, I think is pretty significant. And perhaps we should discuss that, your balls, so that we know exactly what those balls are for, how people can use your balls, and how important your balls are to the future. Do you mind explaining?
Well, first
Brought to
distinction.
you by manscaped.com. Yeah.
First distinction, I prefer to call them ornaments.
Oh, ornaments. Explain.
You obviously are mesmerized with the term balls.
They're balls.
They're, well, to you, that's
They're
your
balls with your name on them, even.
yeah.
Right.
Well, everybody can use whatever terminology they prefer to fit the narrative they're trying to reach.
And I'm going to say you've done something very innovative in politics with your balls. Tell us what you've done with your
Colin?
balls. Don't ask my son. I'm explaining.
Well, what had happened was a friend of mine actually brought me one of these ornaments.
Ornament. All right.
Christmas tree ornaments.
Uh-huh.
Brought one to my office the other week and said, hey, I had somebody make these ornaments that had Hermie Sadler for Senate on the ornament.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the ornaments made as Christmas gifts for friends of his. And when I saw the ornaments, I said, who made them? And he said, well, so-and-so. Actually, I'll just say it, Barbara Wyatt. And Barbara and Danny and the Wyatt family are friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to reach out to Barbara about her making some ornaments that I can use to offer for donation on the Sadler for Virginia website, which is SADLERFOR Virginia.com website.
Uh-huh.
So I started selling these ornaments on the website for a $50 donation.
Oh, and they're really nice.
They're really nice.
But I'm telling you, I've never seen it before in any kind of race. And I was pretty impressed. And that's why I brought up your balls. Your ornaments.
Right.
Because I thought, of all the things that people do, especially in getting your name out, you can do refrigerator magnets, you can do all sorts of things. And usually people put out Christmas cards. But, to know that your balls could be hanging on someone's tree.
And for those,
I think, a very innovative
my
idea.
balls could be hanging.
Well, don't you hang balls on your tree?
Ornaments. Yeah.
But sometimes they're balls.
And I have offered to personalize, which I'd say of the, we've done pretty much sold the first batch, maybe 100. We got 100 left, but I've offered to personalize the ornaments for those people
You're going
that
to personalize your balls.
Ornaments for those that prefer that. So, but I tell you something else that I did learn that I told my team, and it goes to, I said, I'm learning every day about politics and running a campaign.
It's a hell of a lesson, isn't it?
People that would drive 200 miles to come see me at a personal appearance somewhere, some are hesitant to spend $50 on an ornament because they just don't want to get involved in politics.
Really?
Yeah. I told my team, I bet.
So you're talking like, when you were a race car driver or a Fox Sports analyst, people would drive for a personal appearance.
Oh yeah. They drive hundreds of miles.
But when it comes to something like this,
And look, those people, they will call me and say, I told my people the first day they put these ornaments on the website, between emails to the website, text messages, direct messages on Twitter, messages on Facebook, like in the first literally 2 hours, I got like 30 messages from people. They're like, hey, because when you go to the website, I'll just go ahead and tell people, when you go to the website to buy an ornament, you have to fill out the paperwork. You have to fill out your name, your address.
Oh.
You can't make an anonymous donation.
Gotcha. Even though $100 or less, that's not reported. So
Yeah.
even if they bought an ornament,
Yeah.
That doesn't.
But you can't.
That doesn't go in
We
your
can't
report
take
for donation.
anonymous donations.
Right.
So somebody can't just give me $50 as an anonymous donation and get an ornament. You have to fill out the paperwork
Oh, okay.
to do that. So I've just had people like, hey man, can I just send you the money? And I'm like, no, you have to go through the proper paperwork and all that, because my people, I have a compliance officer as well as other things like most campaigns do, I assume.
Sure.
And he says, you can take cash, but we can't take anonymous donations. We have to know where all of them came from. So a lot of people are just not willing or interested in getting, having their name attached to a political campaign.
Well,
regardless.
Hermie, ever since I've known you, I've always said to my friends that you have huge, giant balls, and now you can hang one on your tree.
Ornaments.
I'm sorry. Hermie, you have big, giant ornaments, and now you can have one to hang on your tree. So go to Hermie Sadler's website for his campaign.
Sadler4Virginia.com.
And that doesn't mean you have to vote for him, but you get one of his balls on your tree.
Right.
There you go. But I think it's innovative.
And the interesting thing about these ornaments, they're all the same size.
Get two. Don't get one.
I'm
really just impressed. It's something. Look, I've run some campaigns since 2010. I used to help with campaigns even before that, back into the 90s, and I've never seen that before. So I thought that was really innovative and interesting. And I know your friend that did it, and I think that's very impressive. So, and especially during the holiday season, and they're really, may I say this? They're really your balls are very good looking.
It's shiny, sparkly.
They sparkly in the
Sparkly.
when you put it on the tree in the Christmas tree lights. It
Lights up, boy.
it
is
really
special.
makes a difference.
Hey,
You know, my cats. We have
I was getting ready to try to
a couple cats.
say something really meaningful.
We have a couple cats, and I bet. And now, are these glass? Or are they plastic ornaments?
They're plastic outside, but it's a process. It's a pretty long process where she puts the stuff in the glitter and all that inside of it. But I wouldn't want anybody dropping my ornaments and dropping them.
Well, my
breaking
cats in our Christmas tree here at the Stanley household, they love to play with the
Ornaments, yeah.
And so I'd love one. I don't know if you got one in the truck before you leave.
I don't.
Maybe you need-
$50. You can go to Hermes Sadler,
You're gonna
Florida,
charge
Virginia.
me?
$50.
You're gonna charge me $50 for one of your
$50
balls.
bucks.
Wow.
$50.
Now, with this, now that you're selling ornaments, now do you get a special price for two, like a discount?
Well, here's the special. It's 1 for 50 or 2 for 100 today only.
Well, put me down for two.
2. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a big tree
Yeah.
that can handle your big.
So you want
ornaments.
two of the ornaments?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not? I think it's good. But I'm wondering if my cats will try to knock your ornaments off the tree.
I would hope you put them on a place on the tree where they would be unreachable for everybody except maybe my sponsor.
I'll see what I can do. First, I have to get permission from the sponsor to put them.
Oh,
on
I
the
think
tree.
she'll be good with
I
it.
think she'll probably.
I think she'll be good with
Yeah.
it. Can I say something serious now?
No, but go ahead anyway.
On a serious note, I'm working towards a primary or a convention in the 17th.
Mhm.
There are going to be a lot of interesting and competitive primaries for Senate across Virginia,
All over the place.
all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. You've got Tommy Norman, the minority leader, my caucus minority leader, potentially running against the chairman of our caucus, our friend and your lawyer, one of my good friends. He was the best man at my wedding, Ryan McDougal.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Emmett Hanger potentially running against, he's a Republican, running against Mark Obenshain. You've got incumbent David Suderline out of Roanoke running against an incumbent Democrat there, John Edwards. You've got a lot in the Senate alone and a lot in the House in this redistricting that was done by the Supreme Court. A lot of what I noticed was older senators and House of Delegate members that have been there a while against younger members as well. You've got Louise Lucas, an older member of the Senate, running against a younger member of the Senate, Lionel Spruill. I'm probably forgetting some too.
A lot of chatter at my event in Portsmouth the other night about Louise Lucas and Lionel Spruill. And I got to tell you, it seems that a lot of people in that area would not be surprised if Lionel Spruill would not be, if worst case, a tremendous foe for Louise Lucas. But I think many people that follow political circles in Portsmouth think he could very well win that primary.
Lionel's a great guy. I like him a lot. I like Louise. I'm not going to say, I mean, when you live basically with somebody in the chamber for those 40 members, you get to know them pretty well. So we don't agree on much politically and we don't agree on much on the floor of the Senate. We can get in arguments, but Lionel is a thoughtful politician. He's a smart and shrewd politician.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to be quite competition if she stays there. Have you heard that Louise was thinking about coming maybe to the 17th?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about that?
I have not.
Okay. Because I'm hearing she's going to stay in Portsmouth, that she's going to stay in her old district, and we're going to see probably an amazing primary fight between the two of them because they're both tenacious politicians and campaigners. We'll see whether that new Senate district goes with the old guard or maintains, and Lionel's sitting in the Senate, so he's not the old guard, the new guard, but but he is extremely popular, and and he works across the aisle, but at the same time he stays true to his principles, which you respect. That he can disagree with you without being disagreeable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one quick story about Lionel. When he came over from the House of Delegates to the Senate, he said at the end of the year, and we'd had a very spirited and funny kind of session too, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, when I came over to the Senate, I was told that the Senate was pretty boring. And I prayed to God that the Senate would be more interesting because the House is more interesting than the Senate. And the God delivered me Bill Stanley. He said he's made me laugh and he's just crazy. So that was quite a compliment from Lionel Spruill.
Mhm.
Lionel's a Mason brother of mine and a Masonic brother, and so we certainly have that kind of connection. But he's a really good guy, and listen, Louise is a tenacious
She's
politician.
a powerhouse down there too.
And,
Yeah.
and her Twitter may explode, but she's smart and getting things done too in the Senate. And there's no pulling back on that. I mean, she's very experienced. So it's going to be a heck of a fight, just like all of these are going to be a fight. I think the Tommy Norment, Ryan McDougal fight is going to be
I tell you,
interesting. But the problem is it's going to, don't you think that within our caucus, because we're trying to win a majority and they're trying to maintain a majority on the Democrat side, that's going to create some real division. And, and I fear that, I like Tommy and I love Ryan but Tommy's at the head of the party or head of our caucus, and Ryan's just second position there. I mean, the dynamic there is kind of interesting as we all fight for our own reelection and convince the people that we have the right ideas to represent them. But here at the top and within the party and the division of assets and the division of resources, the two people that make those decisions are going to be in a street brawl to determine who the nominee is in their new district.
And people within the party try to tell you, as they've tried to tell me, let's keep these primaries on the up and up. Let's keep them clean and civil.
Because we're all on the same side.
But when you take somebody like Tommy and Ryan, you have to don't you have to kind of go where the other people go? Or you have to, if somebody decides to try to go negative, what do you do?
Well, there are two options. You go negative with them and you get down in the dirt and the mud, or one stays above the fray and convinces people that because of that temperament that they have, not to get down into the weeds and attack a fellow Republican. As you remember, and you've said here on the podcast previously, the 11th commandment of Ronald Reagan is, George Allen says, is not to attack each other. That's a very hard decision, especially when the stakes are so high and the money that they're probably going to spend on that primary and Louise Lucas and Lionel Spruill and the money they're going to spend with Ryan McDougal and Tommy Norment both have big war chests. I just don't see how it can't go negative.
Yeah.
Because again, the passions of people are always, ultimately you want to vote for somebody, not against somebody. And you've got to get people out in a primary in June when people aren't thinking about politics necessarily. The turnout's real low, 4 or 5% of the total electorate coming out for you. So every vote really counts. And how do you motivate people to come out and vote for you and against the other guy?
One of the things that as I've working my way through this process, one of my budget line items of my campaign is quote unquote opposition research.
You got to have it.
And first thing I said was, I don't know about spending that money on that. I don't really care, but they say, not that we will ever use it, but we got to have it.
Unfortunately, that's true. And the problem is when it's
And so,
primary,
'cause
it's oppo research on a fellow Republican.
Yeah. So explain what that is.
Opposition research is basically a part of your campaign that checks out, if you're running against somebody who's already in office, every vote that they've ever taken on any issue to exploit a weakness that they may have voted on that shows them not to be as conservative as they should be. Now, you don't have that problem because you don't have those kind of votes. But there may have been a vote in committee or on the floor of the House or Senate where, let's just use it, I'm not saying that your opponent or anybody else has done it, but they voted for a bill that would have been pro-choice. Well, you're gonna take that opposition research, you're gonna get that vote record, and you're gonna exploit it in mailers and TV and radio ads that this person's not a conservative, they're not pro-life. You'll see it right now. There's a primary race going on. We talked about before, Ren Williams and Marie March, two very good delegates out in my area and are in the district that I hope to be the nominee of in the 7th. And Ren Williams is saying Marie March made a statement that basically sounded pro-choice. So he obviously dug that up. He's going to exploit it. So that's what opposition research in the political game is. You'd rather be doing opposition research against a Democrat.
Right.
It's a little bit harder because you're splitting hairs with a fellow Republican. You're not conservative enough. You're not pro-Second Amendment enough. You made a statement where you said, some gun control is okay. Well, then they're going to say he's against the Second Amendment. And that will, believe it or not, that's the kind of negative stuff that will motivate people to vote not for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Opposition research that you utilize doesn't get them necessarily to vote for you, but it keeps somebody from coming out to vote for the other person, or they come out to vote against the other person. So it has that negative connotation to it. It's one of the horrible things about politics and campaigns. As you see, they call it the October surprise. The closer you get to an election, all this dirt starts coming out to really make up people's minds as they get close to the ballot box. That's what an opposition research is for. It's a deep dive. They go into your background. They go into, did you pay your sales tax or real estate tax? And so for you, not having that voter record, they're going to look and see if you, had a DUI, which I know you didn't, or you called somebody a name, or something that you said, maybe on this podcast, maybe when you're a Fox Sports analyst, maybe when you were a driver for NASCAR. That's what they're going to be looking at, or maybe in a business practice where they're going to find somebody that was a disgruntled employee that you fired that will say something negative about you. Anything like that is what you're going to see. That's Oppo research.
One of the races on the House side that I think, if it comes through to fruition, will be interesting to watch will be Barry Knight and Glenn Davis.
Yeah.
Barry, of course, has been around a long time. I'll say this so you don't have to, he's not been on the side that I would prefer him to be on issues that I'm dealing with as far as small businesses against casinos. But I understand he's a long time, and by most people's, by pretty much any measure, a good politician.
Very good.
And
smart guy.
Very smart guy and influential. But I could say the same for Glenn Davis.
Oh, very, very, very.
And Glenn Davis has really stepped out in recent months and made to try to make that distinction of supporting small business, not necessarily anti-casino, but not wanting the casinos to come with a monopoly and kind of wipe out not only business, but the rights of small businesses.
Right.
So that could be something that, and I think, and you know better than I do, I know Glenn fairly well. I don't know Barry Knight hardly at all, but I think they've been friendly in the past. Is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they're from the same area.
Yeah.
And only now, and that's the funny part about redistricting, is that it's now pitting allies against allies. And, I'm seeing it, and I won't go into it with much deep measure when it comes to even like in the Senate races in our caucus that are going to pit my fellow caucus mates against each other. But you can tell the attitudes have changed. That once was a brotherhood and sisterhood has now become, I don't talk to him anymore, or he said this about me, or, and it's going to, and that's bitter, and it's unfriendly, and it's unkind, and it's uncomfortable. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of. I mean, it's not so much out in the open, like say Marie March and Ren Williams, the delegates out there fighting for the seat for next year's election in the primary out in Southwest Virginia. It's more under the radar, but it's more intense. And unfortunately, I don't think that's good for the collective in terms of, when you're in the Republican caucus in the Senate, which I hope you are in the future, it's a team atmosphere. But yet we allow each other's opinions come to the fore where we come to a consensus. If we don't come to a consensus, we respect each other. Right now, it depends that caucus leadership. I'm a part of leadership. I'm the whip. I'm more the firebrand. I'm the alternate universe opinion when leadership gets together and when we talk about things. But if you don't have that kind of cohesiveness to articulate where we should be on certain pieces of legislation or certain policy issues, then it starts to break apart. And my dad used to always say a fish rots at the head first. And so I fear that what we're about to go through in these primaries and then come out on the other side after the general election, number one, it's going to be a very different Senate than the one I ran in 10 years ago when I came in on redistricting. Number two, where are we as a unit when we go into 2023 in the last 2 years of Glenn Youngkin's administration being governor? Where are we going to be? Are we going to be a broken up unit? Are we going to be cohesive? Are we going to get his agenda done and have some really good ideas for Virginia? Or are we still going to be fighting the bitter battles of a primary before in the changing of the guard?
Because it's hard sometimes not to take things personally.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And what I really hate about it is, look, I'm very loyal, love Mark Obenshain, love Emmett Hanger. I agree with Mark Obenshain a lot more than I agree with Emmett Hanger. but I like them both. Love them both. Have relied on them both. We voted together on things. We voted not together on things. But the last man standing may, if it's somebody in the caucus that they prefer the other guy, and I'm not saying I prefer one over the other, in that example, could leave a lasting ripple that could affect how effective we are as a party. And in the same way with the Democrats. I'm not just saying on our side.
Yeah.
It's got to be the same thing. So when we regroup after the elections in November of 2023, it's going to be an interesting General Assembly. I can tell you that.
Well, a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. There'll
we
be a
haven't
lot.
even gotten into the leaning right and turning left.
Yeah. We're going to take a short break here and come back. We'll have some leaning right moments. We'll talk about Elon Musk. We'll talk about Twitter.
Yeah.
We'll talk about free speech.
I mean, that's big stuff.
And we'll talk about some turning left moments, the banquet, the NASCAR banquet, Smart Modified Tour banquet. And then we'll let people know what's coming up in broadcast down the line.
Yeah. Have
Here
you got a
on
second
Leaning
driver
Right.
yet?
What's that?
Have you got a second driver for our team?
Potentially.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That'll be a sidebar conversation.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We turn this thing off and start over again?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. Thank you for listening. I think that's an interesting conversation to be had. And this was an interesting conversation to talk about your balls. And, you know, it's funny that we were talking about Hermie Sadler's balls because, quite frankly, one of our great sponsors has been manscaped.com. And here in the holiday season, 'tis the season for clean ornaments. La 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 la. See, I'm going to use the word ornament.
Great.
Our friends at Manscaped are helping you clear your driveway for safe travels this holiday season. From stocking stuffers to white elephants, Manscaped's products are the top of everyone's wish list. Go grab some crop mops for your pops or the body buffer for the holiday lover. Win this year's white elephant gift and help all the men in your life go from eggnog to nice hog this December by going to manscaped.com and using promo code Sadler. That's promo code Sadler for 20% off plus free shipping. Now, you know, Hermie, you're here at my apartment. You used my restroom. You saw my Manscaped bag right there.
You got it all.
I got the Manscaped products here.
Premier Package 4.0, you got all of it.
I've got the body wash here. I've got the deodorant here.
Oh, you're all in.
I
you're
use
not
this
just
product.
talking about it.
I
You're,
love
you're
this
all in.
And the Platinum Package 4.0 and all the other products are great stocking stuffers for the man in your life, for the brother in your life, for the husband, for, you know, kids of appropriate ages. This is something that I think is a great product because it's a man product and for something which is men's grooming. What a better holiday gift that you can give than the gift of good hygiene and a few laughs. Right?
Can't think of one.
I mean, you can order Hermes balls and Manscaped.
Ornaments.
Take care of, I'm sorry, Hermes ornaments and Manscaped to take care of those.
1 for 50 or 2 for 100 today only.
Now, do you have a promo code Sadler on that one?
Don't need one.
Okay. Well, listen, Manscaped offers a handful of other liquid formulations, shampoos, body washes, like I just said, upstairs and downstairs deodorants for your ornaments, gels, exfoliants. I mean, they've got everything that a man needs for personal grooming. So don't let your chestnuts roast in the wrong boxers. You even have the ability to get a great pair of Manscaped boxer underwear. They're specially made to keep the area cool, provide holiday comfort all year round. And now that you've gifted them their perfect privates, go beyond the groom with Manscaped's full body product line. Does dad have nasty nose hairs? Save his life with the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Shears 2.0 is the full kit for nail care. Scissors, clippers, tweezers, and a file for the traveling man. Right now, I'm the traveling man. And that's one product I don't have, Hermie. I don't have that. There's the Preserve Cologne. It gives you a nice, breezy, woodsy feel. Gives a fresh tree scent of even after Christmas. So, you know, Hermie, do you use a loofah?
What?
Do you use a loofah? Like, you know what a loofah is?
I do not.
It's kind of like a spongy thing that looks like kind of some ribbons put together. And loofah has been very popular. You put the soap in it, you rub it down. The problem is loofahs.
In Emporia, we call that a washcloth.
Well, loofahs can get very dirty and over time and collect bacteria and stuff. Manscaped's got the body buffer. And that is something you absolutely want to give your loved one when they clean. The body buffer exfoliates, it gets the new skin going. That's something that every man should have in the shower. And lastly, look, let's top off the stocking stuffers with the crown jewel for their family jewels, the Lawnmower 4.0. The electric razor's advanced skin safe technology.
Easy for you to say.
That's right. Is a life changer and known for reducing nicks and cuts on your ornaments, especially Sadler's ornaments. Manscaped is here to make holiday shopping a blast by giving products they'll love and make them laugh. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll say it one more time before we go to break. Get 20% off and free shipping with promo code Sadler at checkout at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code Sadler at manscaped.com. Manscaped, for a perfect gift that will be the holidays' biggest hits next to Hermes ornaments. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Manscaped. Make sure you go to that website. It's a great website for men's grooming. I highly recommend it for everybody, right, Hermie?
I got nothing to add to that. We're going to break, and we'll be right back. Hi, folks. This is Hermie Sadler. Thanks for listening to our all-new podcast, Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator. I hope you are enjoying the show as much as Senator Stanley and I enjoy bringing it to you. Whether you're a family traveling together or a truck driver hauling freight up and down the highway, I hope you will take the time to visit one of our Sadler Travel Plaza locations in Virginia and North Carolina. Sadler Travel Plaza locations are licensed dealer locations for Pilot Travel Centers, and we also carry Shell Motiva petroleum products for our four-wheel friends. We pride ourselves on providing one-stop shopping for service, food, and entertainment. Our food options include Five Guys Burgers and Fries, Quiznos, Dairy Queen, Hermie Sadler's Faux Show Bar and Grill, Victory Lane Restaurant, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, and much, much more. Our locations include Sadler Travel Plaza in South Hill, located off I-85 at Exit 12. The Sadler Travel Plaza of Emporia, which is conveniently located on Exit 11B off I-95, and Sadler Travel Plaza on Highway 58 in Suffolk. We also have our North Carolina location, Sadler Travel Plaza in Dunn, North Carolina. That's Exit 75 off I-95. We appreciate all of our customers. And Bill and I appreciate you listening to Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic.
Hey, this is Bill Stanley, Hermie Sadler's sidekick on this podcast. When I'm not in Richmond at the Capitol or doing this podcast, my real job for the past 27 years is as a trial attorney with the Stanley Law Group. Here at the Stanley Law Group, we represent our clients in every courthouse in the Commonwealth. No problem is too small for us to solve. No case is too big for us to win. Whether it's criminal charges, traffic offenses, civil disputes, litigation matters of any sort, we handle it all. We make sure that we treat every client like family because they are to us. Your problem is our problem. Your success is our success because we hate to lose more than we love to win. And believe me, we win a lot. Don't believe me? Go ask Hermie. I'm his favorite lawyer, and he hates lawyers. So give us a call at 540-721-6028 and let us help you. Or visit our website at www.vastanleylawgroup.com. That's www.vastanleylawgroup.com. At the Stanley Law Group, we'll make sure we're the lawyers that you swear by and not at. And we're back. So my leaning right moment is going to discuss exactly, I think, what is going on in the nation today with Elon Musk now taking over Twitter, and actually not only just taking over Twitter and returning that platform to a First Amendment position that it started out as until Twitter changed all that. But now the revelations that we're seeing from the Twitter's attempt, not only attempt, but successful attempt to squelch in 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop story that was revealed in an explosive report by the New York Post. Hermie, if you recall back in 2020, right around September time, the New York Post revealed that Hunter Biden had dropped off a laptop at a computer store to be rehabilitated because I guess he had dropped it in a hot tub when he was with a hooker and never came and got it. And then when the guy who's repairing the computer basically looked at what the contents of that computer was, what was on it, and what he'd recovered was very disturbing. Not just pictures of Hunter Biden with guns that he should not have had, or crack pipes that he should not have been smoking, or prostitutes that he shouldn't have been with, but also real information that I thought compromised at the time when the report was made. Hunter Biden's dad, our now president, Joe Biden, called the big guy, which demonstrated that Hunter Biden was involved with foreign interests in Ukraine and China and even Russia, that he shouldn't have been, was getting money, lots of money from those interests. And basically, I thought would have compromised and had compromised Joe Biden during the election time. He was known as the big guy on the computer, getting 10% cuts on these multi-million deals that Hunter Biden was getting when he had no competency to be representing foreign governments, never reported that he was representing foreign governments, and even sitting on the board of Burisma, an energy company in Ukraine, who is trying to use Hunter Biden to get special influence with his dad. And even when he was on Burisma's board, when Hunter Biden was on that board, Joe Biden was the vice president, and Joe Biden made the prosecutor in Ukraine actually be fired by the country. And that prosecutor was looking into the misdealings and the bad doings of Burisma's board. And at the time, in the New York Post's article, when it came out, it was explosive. It was about September, October, as we talked about. And yet what happened is our government, the FBI, the Joe Biden campaign was able to infiltrate Twitter and Twitter's executives, who were left-leaning executives, into not only stopping the New York Post articles from being reproduced and shared on Twitter, but also shut down any comment that was going on between Twitter users with Twitter handles to discuss the issues that were coming out from the Hunter Biden laptop. That to us was, I think, at the time, who cared about it, very explosive. It was all shut down, and you noticed ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN never reported on it. Fox News reported on it, but it was turned into, this is a Russia hoax, Russia misinformation to influence the 2020 campaign. They used the 2016 campaign to do it, and they shut down any discussion in 2020 that this was a legitimate thing. 51 national security officials wrote a letter that said this is a Russia hoax, when in fact, the FBI had this computer for a year. They knew it was true. They were able to shut it down as a part of the national discourse and discussion through Twitter. And only when Elon Musk buys Twitter, puts his butt on the line and his billion-dollar butt on the line to buy Twitter, are we now finding out that this was not only not a hoax, which we now know, and all those news reporting agencies are saying, oh yeah, the Hunter Biden computer is actually a real thing, but now Elon Musk is putting sunlight as a disinfectant on the truth to demonstrate how this platform that was supposed to be about free speech and the First Amendment was now suppressing free speech and the exchange of political thought on what I thought was a very important issue back in the 2020 campaign. And we're seeing this now. I think it's an explosive issue. And here is Elon Musk doing this.
I want to drill down on that a little bit further. It baffles me how members of the media or one campaign or one party or the other could have an inside track to the decision makers at a platform like Twitter to tell them what they can and cannot or shouldn't or should not have on the platform. But before that, I'm curious to get your thoughts on Elon Musk, the person. I know him not at all personally, but certainly followed him, read about him, all those kind of things. I used to view him as a liberal, a left-wing liberal. You know, he does electric vehicles, and he hasn't really stood out to me in any other way other than I thought he was one of them. But now that we've seen him buying Twitter and he's standing up for things that maybe are not all in line with one party or the other, but taking a kind of a more of a middle road kind of stance. And he's now saying that, you know, for most people, free speech is a wonderful thing unless it's something you don't agree with.
Yeah.
But he's kind of taken the road of, hey, I'm going to bring all of this corruption back out. I'm going to put it out there for people to look at, view, make their own decisions, whatever. So I kind of applaud him for that. I still don't know really what his politics are, not that it matters, but what do you think about, or why do you think Elon Musk bought Twitter? And how do you think he's going about his business now, and maybe how has it changed the perception of him over the last, say 6 months?
So think about it this way. The greatest thing about the United States is we've always had geniuses that have been out in the forefront of actually transforming America, but also transforming the human condition. And, whether it's the Wright brothers with flight, Edison with electricity, and Nikola Tesla himself with electricity, when we could go on and on, where we've had geniuses that have actually done something to change the world and make a difference. Elon Musk is one of those in the 21st century, and we don't have him in the great quantity that we had in the 19th or 20th century, but he's one of those guys. And so when there was maybe an outcry or a need for an electric vehicle, he created an electric vehicle that was reliable, that was dependable, not affordable necessarily because of the battery and the lithium and the ion battery, whatever it is that makes it that way. But he was willing to go out there and do that. And you've seen that he's not only did that, but he also did that with SpaceX, which is private space exploration, not just NASA, but actually putting it in the private sector, making it more affordable, making it competitive. One would think because it's Silicon Valley, it's all those things, that the Twitter, the Facebook, the stuff, that he would fall into that left-wing bucket, because most of those people that started those organizations were left-wing or became left-wing. But what you see with Elon Musk is what you used to see with the left before, which was they believed in freedom. They believed in liberty. They believed in the First Amendment. And so he's always believed in the First Amendment, the protection of free speech. And what you're seeing now is, I think he's the genius has become a billionaire because of the free exchange of ideas and moving the country forward, was he saw that left was now into suppressing ideas unless you agreed with the left's ideas. And that to him probably changed in terms, maybe not politically, but philosophically, from perhaps being on the left to being in the middle, to being a libertarian. And so what he did was put his butt, his name, and his money, billions of dollars, on the line to take over a platform that he had seen, and we all have seen, has become an instrument of the left. And now, as we saw with the Hunter Biden laptop, an instrument of the government, which is not what it was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a platform, Twitter was, and the free exchange of ideas. I know that you're pretty prolific on Twitter. I'm not so prolific.
I don't know if prolific is the right word.
Well, you're better than I am.
Active.
Yeah, but at least you can type whatever you want. It used to be 56 characters or however many, and they were an exchange of free ideas. Well, then it grew because then it became, advertising and then bots and expressing ideas freely became restricting those free ideas and the free expression of those ideas. And then it became more of a commercial platform to, if Kim Kardashian liked a certain body lotion, then that was really what it was for her 1 million followers. It changed and transformed. But what it became was an instrument not only of liberal policies and thinking. And remember, Republicans have never said, I want to limit your free speech. Never, ever, ever. Democrats have now turned into, well, your speech is free speech so long as you agree with us or you're expressing the same ideas that we do. If you're not, then you shouldn't have a platform to speak. You're a radical. You're a leftist. I mean, not a leftist, but you're a misogynist. You're sexist. You're a racist, and you should be banned. Twitter became that kind of platform where it was a control of ideas. And now what we saw with the Hunter Biden laptop, where Hunter Biden laptop during an election comes out at a time when it should have been information that we all determined for ourselves, should be discussed freely in the open marketplace of ideas, and should determine how someone votes or not votes on something, on a person, whether it be Joe Biden or Donald Trump. What they did was they censored Donald Trump, banned him. They censored and banned the 2020 New York Post article about Hunter Biden's laptop. And they allowed collusion between big tech and the government and a political campaign of someone running against the sitting president, Donald Trump, in order to save the narrative of the left and prevent the free exchange of ideas, which should have happened. Think about it this way, Hermie. 10, 15 years ago, if the Hunter Biden laptop came out, let's say Biden was running for office back when George Bush was running for office, and there was no Twitter, but this report came out on the New York Post. Do you think for a second, because there was no way that the government could have squelched that, hidden it, or stopped it, do you think that that would not have been put out in the court of public opinion for free discussion? The answer is obviously yes. But now that the court of public opinion has been restrained into social media, whether it be Facebook or Twitter, what we're seeing is the government, by going and saying to these big companies at Silicon Valley, the Russians may be influencing this. This is misinformation. 51 of our former national security advisors said this may be bunko. They're able to stop the platform from not only the platform from putting it out as a news article, but you, Hermie, the Twitter user with your Twitter handle, from producing that article or sharing that article or even having a discussion about that article and its implications. What Twitter allowed to happen and actually was colluding with the federal government and the FBI and the Democrats campaign with Joe Biden was to keep that information from the people. In doing so, because the deep state didn't want it out there, because they didn't want anybody to know that the actual presidential candidate in 2020 that was compromised was not Donald Trump with the Russian hoax stuff. It was Joe Biden, who was getting 10% or 20% as the big guy from Burisma, from these Chinese companies, and Hunter was the conduit. And these companies in China that are owned by the CCP knew that Hunter was compromised. Russia knew that Hunter was compromised. They used his addictions even to pay him a lot of money and put him in a position where if Joe Biden was elected, he wouldn't do harm to China, he wouldn't do harm to Russia, he wouldn't do harm to these interests. And now what we're seeing, Ukraine's getting billions of dollars, the military-industrial complex sending billions of dollars to fight the Russians. You're seeing Russia knows that Joe Biden's compromised, and the Chinese are getting a free pass. So one would have to think that the Hunter Biden laptop story was not only important for all Americans to know, that the government colluding with Silicon Valley and these social media platforms stopped the free exchange of ideas, and that in doing so changed the outcome of a very close election. And now, based on what we see with the Biden administration, has changed the attitude of our administration of the United States to allow the people that want to do us harm in China, Russia, and whomever are now have the advantage of the United States. And we've given it to them because the big guy had to make about $5 or $6 million off of Hunter Biden.
Here's what scares me about all that. I think sometimes there's always such a push by some people. Take Hunter Biden. I couldn't care less about his problems, his personal problems. I hate it for anybody, especially someone's kid. But it's obviously he's got a lot of personal problems.
Right.
But to a small group of people, that's really what they want to know about. They want to know all the dirt and the drugs and the, anything that's sensationalized.
Right.
But in my view, when you have a group of people that are so intent on drilling into that part of his life, it prevents us from learning more about the things that we should all care about, which is, number one, how are we potentially, our national security, how is it affected by some of these relationships or some of these problems that Hunter Biden has, and these things, these deals that Hunter is involved in for Joe, or in partnership with Joe, the big guy.
Yeah.
And how is that affecting how our country is being run and our national security?
Well,
so what I'm saying is, some people, all they care about is they want some scandal. They want scandal.
Yeah.
But in pushing so hard for that, are we preventing ourselves, maybe pre-Elon Musk owning Twitter? Is our desire to see all that really prohibiting us from getting to the information that we should all care about? Is how does all this affect us? Because people can do whatever they want to do. But when it starts affecting other people, it starts affecting you and your family,
right,
me and my family, we have a right to question and know. But I think sometimes we don't get to all that because there's such a push to get to the stuff that's going to sell magazines.
Well, if the Hunter Biden laptop and the report from the New York Post was merely, only, Hunter Biden loves crack, Hunter Biden loves hookers, Hunter Biden likes to take naked pictures of himself in a bathtub with a gun, then I think there is a limit to what the usefulness of the Hunter Biden laptop would have been. I remember Jimmy Carter, he had a brother, Billy Carter, and he liked beer. All right. So, but that didn't prevent people from voting for Jimmy Carter. I think in the same way, if Hunter Biden's predilections were limited to his own personal problems and his addictions, quite frankly, I'm sympathetic to those that might have an addiction and family members. And that's probably a part of the exchange of ideas and determining who you vote for. But it's not the determinant. But the Hunter Biden laptop went much deeper, much further. It involved corruption, the selling of public influence, the selling of public officials' patronage in return for cash from our enemies. And that was the true underlying story. The FBI had this laptop for a year, did nothing about it. New York Post breaks the story when the actual computer fixer guy says, hey, I got this laptop and there's a lot of bad stuff on it. They report it, and now, oh my God, you can't print it. And oh my God, it's a Russian hoax. And oh my God, the people that want to do us harm are actually putting this false information out here. But what the actual contents of that computer was, outside his nudie photos with a gun and a hooker, was actually that he was deeply involved with the countries that want to hurt us. He was in a pay-to-play scheme with these with these foreign nations, and ultimately that the big guy, Joe Biden, especially confirmed by Tony Bobulinski, who was his partner at the time, was getting a cut of the action. And you have to think that that is a compromising of the security and the future and the sanctity of the United States of America. And what Twitter was willing to do was to sacrifice every single user of Twitter's First Amendment rights to discuss that issue and debate that issue during an election season, because it was in their best interest, in the left's best interest, to get rid of Donald Trump and elect Joe Biden at all cost, even if it cost us the security of this nation. And what we've seen, and I said it just a little bit before, is what we've seen is that the payoff for the millions of dollars that Hunter Biden got paid, for the influence peddling that he did to foreign nations, China, Ukraine, Russia, is now reflected in the policies of the Biden administration. Because are we soft on China? I mean, Russia's invading Ukraine. Taiwan looks to be like the next invasion point for China. And our president may be compromised because of the deals that Hunter Biden made with these foreign companies that are related to these corrupt communist nations. That should be free and open discussion with all of us in America, because the citizens are the ones that allow our government to govern us. But now what we're seeing is that our government has grown so big that its power is more important than the power of the people, to where it's willing to compromise itself and the safety and security of its people in order to preserve power, even when it compromises its own position to countries that want to do us in, that want to see us go down, do harm, be deconstructed, be dissolved, because freedom is the scariest thing to a communist
we need
nation.
to know who else is involved, because I hate to be judgmental, but I guess this is what podcasts are for. Hunter Biden, to me, doesn't seem like to be sharp enough to go instigate, initiate, and handle all these business dealings on his own.
Not when you're on crack.
So who else is involved?
Right.
And also, how can a pre-Elon Musk, how can a company platform like Twitter be so influenced by outside sources like that?
Well, remember, Twitter, Facebook have allowed, or have gotten the government to allow them not to be subject to antitrust laws. So they are a manipulator, a monopoly even.
I hate that word.
I know. They are a monopoly. So, and they got the government to give them an excuse. Remember, Teddy Roosevelt.
Government and being involved in monopolies. All right.
It happens.
All right.
But then in exchange for, their position, their multi-billion-dollar position and their position in society. I mean, Twitter is now a fabric of modern day society. In exchange for that, they get government protection. Well, if you get government protection, then when the government wants something, chances are you're going to do what the government wants. So when the government comes to you, and the reports are now from what Elon Musk is releasing, that the government came to them in 2020 and said, "Ooh, you got to watch out for this Russian influence." So then they were given briefings all the time. And so when the Hunter Biden laptop scandal came out, they go, "Oh no, this is a Russia hoax, China hoax. Do not believe in it." And the left executives of Twitter said, "Oh, okay, we'll believe that. We'll not only believe what you say, we will shut down any exchange of ideas based on what this New York Post report is." The New York Post is not an agent of China or Russia. It was reporting the facts. What the media used to do and was supposed to do back in the day. The media was the fourth pillar of government. They kept the government honest and open. Now it's in collusion with big tech and the government agencies like the FBI, to the point where They are suppressing ideas or the discussion of ideas or news. They're directing now what the news is and what it isn't. And this is evident of that until Elon Musk releases all this information, which he's doing now. And this is piece by piece, but it's damning and devastating. And it should show that we're in a perilous situation in the government, with our government and the people, because, you know, our founding fathers created the Bill of Rights, 10 amendments. The first one was the freedom of speech. The second one was the right to bear arms. There's a reason why they made those 1 and 2. What we're seeing is corporate America, the platform that's supposed to preserve free speech, is willing to sacrifice the constitutional rights and provisions that protect the individual citizen to be able to express their ideas freely and the press freely in order to serve a higher power, which is the government. Because remember, the Bill of Rights were supposed to protect the individual from the government. Now the government is co-opting those amendments in order to create a narrative that is favorable to the government and does not hurt what the government's interests are. The government, the FBI, the deep swamp, they all wanted Donald Trump out. Remember in 2016, they were saying Russia influenced the election. Well, then when actually it looked like China and all them were in the back pocket of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, well, then they shut that down as Russia misinformation, China misinformation. When in fact, we now know the news agencies that are supposed to be the fourth pillar, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, are now reporting that, you know what, guess what? 2 years later, Hunter Biden's computer turns out to be real. But do a deep dive on what's on Hunter Biden's computer demonstrates that we as a voter should have known that. All voters should have known that in 2020. It wasn't just a naked picture of him in a hot tub with a hooker. It was about the corruption of federal officials and government and whether they should be in a position to lead the American people. And this platform, Twitter, was willing to sacrifice the First Amendment and the individual's right of the First Amendment. Remember, Twitter has no First Amendment right. It's the individual who uses Twitter. They were willing to sacrifice that for a greater political collusion and gain, which is keeping the deep swamp, the deep state, the swamp intact. That, to me, is a corruption of the highest order, much bigger than Watergate. And here we have Elon Musk saying, guess what? I paid $40 billion for this. I put my butt on the line, my name on the line. Here's everything. And you know what I'm seeing right now from the Democrats? Oh, why would you do that? You're putting people who actually made these decisions, these corrupt decisions, in harm's way. They're subject to danger. Or, oh, is that all? I mean, they get caught and they act like nothing happened.
How many times on this show since we started have we uttered the words accountability?
Thousands.
So last thing on Elon Musk.
But not on this.
Yeah. What do you think is the motivation for Elon Musk doing what he's doing? And if you can maybe peel the onion back a little bit on him, what's his end game?
So I would give him a lot of credit. Not only saying, if I'm going to take over this company, we're going to change it. We're going to turn it back into the platform that it was.
By God, he's making people actually come to work in the office.
Yeah. And you know what? They all quit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you make me work?
Yeah, I have to take my pajamas off.
Yeah. And then, you know, and he laid off some people. It was a bloated liberal platform that wasn't for the free exchange of ideas. But he came in there. He's going to clean it up. He's got to, you know, if you're going to take over a restaurant that was owned by somebody else, the kitchen's probably dirty. So you got to clean the kitchen. Mm-hmm. You got to change the menu. You got to make people want to come back. You may lose some customers who are loyal to the old regime, but he's got to rehabilitate that in a way that is new and different, and he's doing that. But I think this exposure of what Twitter was helps him recreate the platform to make it what it will be, which is, again, a free exchange of ideas. Okay, you're going to allow Donald Trump back on. You're going to allow people that you banned. I mean, he restored thousands of people that had been banned because their ideas didn't match the liberal ideas of the people that ran Twitter. But more importantly, and I think what has not been seen and not been touted publicly to the point where it needs to be, he has gone in there and eliminated and discovered and eliminated not only the bots, the fake messaging that was used by corporate America and the Chinese and the Iranians to kind of infiltrate the ideas of America, which were freely allowed by Twitter. But more importantly, what he's done is about 50,000 child predators, child traffickers, human traffickers. He's gone in there and destroyed them and eliminated them. That this is no longer a platform as the left allowed it to be created to be, a platform of where child predators and human traffickers could shop their wares and harm people. So he should be given a lot of credit. But when you got to clean out the old to get to the new, he's returning, I think, this to the original idea that Twitter began, where it began and why it began. And hopefully it will be there. He is taking a big hit. He's probably losing a lot of money right now, but he's looking at the long game. And the long game is restoring in the 21st century a platform that allows for the free exchange of ideas, even if people don't agree what those ideas are. But they can disagree without being disagreeable. He'll get there. And I applaud him for it. And God bless him. Whether he's a liberal, libertarian, or Republican, he's going to take a lot of heat for it. All these Democrats are up in arms. They're doing two things. Oh, I can't believe he's doing it. And the second thing they do is, oh, is this all it is? They're trying to downplay actually the significance of what he's found and what he's releasing. He's not doing this. He's just giving it to very good independent reporters and letting them report on it. It's going to have a huge impact long-term, positively, I think, for Twitter, but it's going to have an even bigger impact for the freedom of America and the preservation of the First Amendment for all of us.
We've talked several times as I've started to take a little dive into politics.
Little dive.
And we've talked about, about 80% of the people, they may think one way or the other, but you can at least have a conversation with them. Then there's 10% way on this side, 10% way over here that you could forget trying to have a conversation with. But one of the tweets from Elon Musk's account in the last couple of days says, Twitter aims to serve the 80% of the people that wish to learn, laugh, and engage in reasonable debate.
Wow.
So he's basically saying the same thing that we say sometimes.
Yeah.
You got 80% of the people that may think differently on this ideology or the other, but you can have a conversation, and a respectful conversation with them about it. But then you've got 10% on the left and you got 10% on the right that won't be happy until the norm is moved closer to where they think it should be. And that's what Elon Musk is saying here with Twitter. Here's what we're trying to provide: an open dialogue, a platform for those that want to engage in it. If you got any other agenda other than that, go somewhere else.
And that's a great quote, Hermie. And I think, what he's doing? He's just returning to what it should have been in the beginning, what it was in the beginning, and what it should be in the future. How wrong is that? But the left is now losing a platform of manipulation, of collusion with the federal government, collusion with political interests, collusion with foreign governments, collusion with human trafficking and child exploitation. They're losing that platform. He wants to be the free exchange of ideas, but in a respectful manner that respects the First Amendment. And he's being damned for it. He's being condemned for it. And that shows you that this was an impure, corrupt platform to begin with. He's bringing it back to where it should be, where it was in the beginning, and where it should be in the future. Man, it renews my hope for America, because we're stuck now. 10 years ago, Herm, you and I didn't have Facebook accounts. 15 years ago, I guess. Now we do. Now we didn't know about Twitter. Now we do. Things are moved based on these Silicon Valley companies that create these platforms, and the platforms are premised upon the First Amendment. But ultimately, what they become is instruments of the left or any political party, instruments of the government, and that is a dangerous, dangerous instrument. And if we're going to take power back of the people, and especially for the legacy we're going to leave for our children, what Elon Musk is doing right now in cleansing this, maybe an expensive road, a long road, but it's the right road. And I think history will remember Elon Musk for maybe preserving democracy and free speech where it was at its peril of extinction. And so hats off to him.
What do you think about, before we move to turning left, what do you think about other social media platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, like TikTok, all these others? Because it's a concern.
Well, TikTok, now, do you remember Donald Trump was saying he wanted to ban TikTok?
Yeah.
Like that was back in 2018?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, you're crazy, because it was like an explosive thing. But TikTok was created by the Chinese. And TikTok, in the Chinese creation, a Chinese company created it, implanted in there where they could suck out all your information about you, even to the point where they could locate where you are. I mean, it was a tool. It was actually not just a political tool, but a tool for all of their information gathering to infiltrate the United States. Now, what did you just see in the news? FBI and, hey, TikTok's bad. Wait a minute, TikTok's bad. Well, when Donald Trump said TikTok was bad, oh, Donald Trump, you're an old fool.
Mhm.
Now they're saying, yeah, the Chinese have so much information, gain so much information on a daily basis using TikTok. It's a bad thing. They give you the right to make some funny video for 15 seconds, but what they do is suck out all your information. That is a threat to our nation. So that's a problem. Mark Zuckerberg now admits, yeah, the FBI came to us and, was warning against Russian influence and wanted us to respond to them and not put stuff or censor stuff. And maybe that was bad. Maybe you're seeing from what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter that we're now looking and examining every platform of this sharing of information between individuals on a global scale and saying, we need to do better to keep out the foreign influences to using these platforms for their own devious purposes and keep them as pure as they can, if you can. Because I've said, the internet is a great thing. You can type in your phone right now, who is the guy that starred in season 3 of The Munsters who had a funny hat, and it'll come up with an answer. But it can also allow a predator into your children's room without ever having to open the door or open a window. It is a great thing, but it is one of the most dangerous things. Do you not see now all these people, predators, these predators preying on older people when they get their information off the internet, calling them on the phone, trying to get them to do bad things? It is a good thing. It can be a great thing, but it's a highly dangerous thing. And it's not just the fraudster or the criminal. It's now nations trying to change the future of the United States of America. And we're allowing it to happen. And until we make these kind of changes that Elon Musk is making, we're screwed, man.
Just
long term.
Just last week, Angie and I were having lunch at Faux Show, and this guy called and wanted to speak to Angie, so she got up and went and took the call. But basically, it was some kind of sales guy, had this program, he wanted to sell us on the restaurant management and those kind of things. So Angie was kind of listening, talking. Then he made a comment about, go to your office and do A, B, and C, and then share your screen with me and we'll do da-da-da-da. And Angie said, "Blick up."
Mm-hmm.
She says, when they start telling me that they have to share a screen or do something like that, she said, it'll have to be a face-to-face, one-on-one conversation if that guy or salesperson calls me back, because I'm not sharing my screen on a computer because she sees a lot at the UPS store, older people getting scammed and otherwise, and they're coming in and sending information and sending money to these people.
Cash, right?
Cash.
Yeah.
Sending, and Angie, she comes in and okay, give me the phone. I'm calling this,
Oh, I bet she can shut the fraudsters down.
She saved, I don't want to, 5 or 10 elderly lady from sending 2, 5, and one lady $10,000 cash.
Oh, man.
To some, and Angie just, no, ma'am.
Now, think about it this way. Before the cell phone, before the flip phone, even when the flip phone came out, and especially now the smartphone, people did not have that much access to you.
Yeah.
If it was a fraud, it was more in person.
Yeah.
Now, what you're talking about, the fraudster that's gotten that old lady to mail $10,000 in cash in an overnight bag,
Mm-hmm.
a UPS envelope, would never have been able to touch that person before, unless they came to their door.
Yeah.
We have now allowed those foreign interests. Remember, those people are usually like in Africa, Uganda, whatever. They are now getting into the house to your grandma or your mother's house without ever ringing the doorbell. The danger of technology is that it creates the ability for those that wish to do us harm to touch us in ways that we never thought before, including but not limited to getting our information, hacking, malware, holding, at one point in time in my law firm, one of those foreign agents grabbed up all our information on our server and held us hostage. That wanted extortion. You pay us this amount of money, we'll release all your information. Well, luckily, it was all the old information. So go screw it. Enjoy it. Enjoy having all our information. hacking into your computer and getting personal information. How many times have you seen Humana or I use Humana as an example, but a hospital that now has their records hacked because now all your medical records are online and somebody has all your medical information, has your social security number. I mean, these were things that we weren't even contemplating as criminal activity, and criminal activity exploded. We weren't contemplating that 25 years ago. Now it's an everyday occurrence. And what we're seeing is the degrading of personal security, personal privacy, and the government's doing nothing to protect us.
The only social media platforms I'm on are Twitter and Facebook. And one of the most common, seems simple ways that I know starts the process of people getting scammed is I get probably 20 messages or notifications a day of friend requests from people that I know I'm already friends with.
Or Chinese people.
And then you go on, some people go on into like Messenger and message these people back and say, hey, they say, send me your number or I lost your contact information, and just, it's that's somebody's, sitting in a basement somewhere and just hacking into people's accounts and finding their passwords and scamming into other people's accounts.
I'll tell you a quick story. Colin's sitting here right now. Our home number got phished. That is, phishing is they take the number, they clone it, and then they start calling people with, call us, we want your personal, criminal use using my home number. So people started calling back and saying, why are you calling my number? Well, the problem is when they phished our number, they then hit 911. So in Franklin County, because they all know me, 911 gets a call and then a hang up call from my personal home phone number at our farm. I'm at work. My son Colin's asleep at the house after working all night as a paramedic. The cops rush over. They think there's a problem. They rush over. I get a call. What's going on at your house? We rush home. Colin's asleep. The deputies are banging on the door, about ready to break it down. And it turns out that our number was phished. And for 2 straight days, my wife, being as deliberate and caring as she was, fielded phone calls from people that would call her back, from these fraudsters that were trying to take advantage of her, get information or get money from them, and patiently told every old person, every elderly man or woman, or anybody that called, I'm sorry, our phone number was phished. They were taking advantage of you. Call the police, do all this stuff. She didn't have to do it. Our phone rang off the hook for 2 days. But that's how easy it is anymore to co-op what was private. Remember when your phone number at home was sanctity? I mean, it was protected. Now they can do that, and that's a landline number. And can you imagine? I've been hacked. I've been cloned on Facebook. Please don't accept friend requests from me. Look what they're doing, and you get porn, requests when that doesn't matter. That you don't want a part of that. It's so bad now. But yet, when our government is willing to, in the Hunter Biden thing, to overlook it because power is more important than security or honesty or trust, where are we heading as a nation, as a society? And what are we leaving, Hermie, for your daughters and my son and daughter? That's what worries me the most of where we are.
Have you got and
that's my leaning right moment.
Do you have a sponsor?
Sure, Charlie's Waterfront Cafe. I haven't talked to Tom Graziano in a while, but sure, we'll put that again. I'm may have a new leaning right sponsor coming in the next week.
Okay,
I got some people. I mean, they're lined up at the door. They said since the turning left moment is all locked up with Vista, we want to get on your leaning right moment. So I may have more sponsors, but we always thank Charlie's Waterfront Cafe, great place in Farmville, Virginia. Great food, great fun. Go see Tommy Graziano right next to the Greenfront Furniture Warehouse.
'Tis the season for clean balls. Fa la 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 la.
You got to slow down a little bit. You're going too fast.
Yeah, start over.
I was trying to get a rhythm. 'Tis the season for clean balls. Fa la 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 la. Our friends at Manscaped are helping you clear your driveway for safe travels this holiday season. From stocking stuffers to white elephants, Manscaped products are at the top of every wish list. Grab some crop mops for your pops or the body buffer for the holiday lover. Win this year's white elephant gift and help all the men in your life go from eggnog to nice hog this December by going to manscaped.com and using Sadler for 20% off plus free shipping.
Fantastic. Now, I've got the Manscaped products. I've got the body wash. I've got the Precision Package 4.0 for my package. It's a wonderful thing to get during the holidays for your loved ones, for your brothers, your boyfriends, your husbands, even the postman, if he's a dude. That would be a nice gift. So we love Manscaped.
You know,
and we appreciate them.
they also have the other products from the men's boxers to the body buffer instead of using a loofah. So be sure to peruse their website, the entire website, while you're there at manscaped.com.
And what do they do again at checkout to get that 20% in free shipping?
Just enter the promo code Sadler, that's SADLER, Sadler, to receive 20% off and free shipping.
Hermie loves that. He really, really does. He needs a body buffer.
And as you're using the products in your premium package 4.0, think about old Hermie while you're doing it.
You know I do. Thank you, manscaped.com. Thank you for the sponsorship.
I bet you do.
Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very proud to have manscaped.com as one of our sponsors, and we hope that you go to their website and, as Shep says, peruse the website and find the product that's right for you. It's about time that a company steps out and says men's grooming is just as important in your life as anything else that you do. So take advantage of the 20% off and the promo code Sadler at checkout and get free shipping anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world. Go to manscaped.com. Thank you, Manscaped. What you got? I mean, is your stuff ever as exciting as Elon Musk bringing transparency, antiseptic to free speech, bringing free speech back in America? You better have some big stuff.
Got some big ornaments.
Yes, you do.
And speaking of ornaments and people that like them, my turning left moment is sponsored by Laura Stanley.
Yes, yeah. If she gets one on her tree,
With Vista Installations.
if she gets one on her tree, she'll like it.
A wonderful door and window installation company. And Laura Stanley has been babysitting and taking care of politicians for over 12 years.
She has. And you know, for Christmas, what I'm getting her? A front door, a new front door.
How about ornaments?
Well, if I could,
I'll take care of that.
If I could get a couple Sadler ornaments in my hand,
Yeah.
if I could cup them and bring them
A
to
little
her,
large for that, but you know.
All right, maybe in a bag,
Yeah.
sack.
A sack. Yeah. But thanks to Laura and Vista Installations for sponsoring the Turning Left moment
Absolutely.
here on Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic. Hey, so a couple things. NASCAR had its year-end awards banquet last weekend. A couple awards, of course. Joey Logano was crowned champion for the second time in his career. But the cool thing I thought was cool about Logano, do you know who introduced him at the banquet?
No.
Mario Andretti.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I never even really knew Logano.
Oh, I saw a picture of that. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't realize how small Mario Andretti was
Short.
compared to Logano.
Short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Small. All right. Sure.
Short.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
That offend you?
it does. We're not talking about my ornaments.
Yeah.
We're talking about, you know.
I said small.
But congratulations to Joey Logano, champion for the second time. Mario Andretti, introducing him. What a cool thing that had to be. Now, the most emotional thing for the weekend, I saw some clips, and you may have seen some of it too, but Ty Gibbs was crowned NASCAR Xfinity Series champion. And really the first time the media had seen Ty, you know, since his dad, Coy, passed away the night after he secured that championship back at Phoenix, last month. So that was very emotional. But, you know, one thing I thought was interesting.
Didn't he get like a standing ovation?
He did.
Yeah.
But Ty, in his media availability prior to the banquet, which is okay, he politely declined to discuss his dad.
How can you blame him?
So, you know, that would be a difficult thing for him to try to answer questions about that. But I will say,
listen, 40 years later, almost 40 years later, it's hard to talk about my dad, his passing.
Yeah. And the media was, I think, overall, they granted that respect.
Good for
But
them.
I will say that Coach Gibbs, Joe Gibbs, when he was receiving the owners championship for the Xfinity Series on behalf of the championship that Ty Gibbs won. He wasn't asked about Coy, but at the end, he made a generalized statement to the whole NASCAR community, how much the Gibbs family appreciated them reaching out, and everybody who reached out to the family.
And that's really hard for Joe. I mean, we all grew up in Oakton together when he was coach of the Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to know Coy,
Mhm.
JD. Went to the same high school with JD. He was our quarterback. And just the thought of both of them dying way before their time, but also at the same age. Just
49.
hard to take.
Yeah.
Hard to take.
Yeah.
Both two really good people. And, God bless that family. And I put in a memorial resolution in the General Assembly and the Senate for JD in his honor. And a friend of mine delivered that to Joe and took a picture, and they were very grateful. But two great young men lost way too early.
A couple other awards that were given out during awards week out in Nashville. You'll never guess who won most popular driver in the Cup Series.
I'm going to say it's
For the 5th year in a row. Does that help you any?
in the Cup.
Yeah.
It's going to be Kyle Busch.
No.
I'm wrong.
This is for the 5th year in a row, most popular driver in the Cup Series.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
This is the person that has won it 5 years in a row since Dale Earnhardt Jr. retired.
Ryan Blaney.
No.
JB McLeod.
No.
Where? What's his name?
No.
Where? No. I'm in the back. Usually those are the pups.
Chase Elliott,
What?
5th year in a row.
My God, what a surprise. What a shock.
In Xfinity Series,
Now, let me tell you something. Other than Bobby Labonte gear, my son Chandler has total Chase Elliott.
Xfinity Series, most popular driver. Any idea?
I'm going to say Noah Gragson.
Yes.
Oh, I was right.
How about trucks?
Trucks.
Think hot.
Hocevar.
Hot.
Hocevar. So it's
Hot.
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 Hocevar.
Hot. Think hot.
Oh, Haley Deegan.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's way too young for me to determine that she's hot.
Yeah.
Hot like a driver, not like her.
Another award that I thought was interesting, but I think bodes well for NASCAR. They give out a Myers Brother Award, basically for
Burt Myers and and his brother Jason?
No.
No? Okay.
for contributions to the sport.
Chocolate Myers?
For the contributions to the sport.
Who's the Myers that the award's named about?
Do you know who got that award this year?
Contribution to the sport.
Yeah.
NASCAR overall sport.
Somebody who made a tremendous contribution to the sport that will potentially help the sport or help grow the sport in the future.
Kyle Busch.
Justin Marks,
Oh, really?
owner of Trackhouse
Trackhouse.
Racing.
Yeah.
You know, his family has, the what are the cameras? The action cameras everybody uses. GoPro. His family is GoPro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he was a racer too.
Oh yeah.
Before he was
Still is.
Okay.
But the reason I say that's a good, because 5 years ago, a lot of talk around the NASCAR community was the age of the owners in NASCAR.
Mm-hmm.
You got Roger Penske way
Hendrick,
up there,
Childress.
Rick Hendrick, all
Gibbs.
great guys,
Yeah.
and wonderful careers and all that. But where's the next generation coming from?
Right.
So Justin Marks is a good example of a new generation of owner that comes into the sport. He and Pitbull, and very, very seldom do these owner/celebrity partnerships work, because the celebrities in some cases are not involved. They're just there for name recognition.
Sure.
But this whole team has jumped in.
Did a great job.
They did a great job. They won races. They came down to the
They're in the Final Four.
Final Four with Ross Chastain. Daniel Suarez won, and they started to make it okay for somebody else to come in,
Yeah,
and win and be a part of that elite group. So you've got Justin Marks who won that award. Then you've got of course, Denny Hamlin's partnership with Michael Jordan, that you'll probably be seeing that partnership, for years to come. And so I just think overall it's good news for NASCAR to have new next generation, different type approaches to the sport coming in. And it's going to drive these other teams. Now, of course, Jeff Gordon appears to be the heir apparent, over at Hendrick Motorsports.
Well, who does it for Gibbs? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, Joe's lost
a whole
his two
nother
boys.
thing. That's a whole nother thing. I'm sure Coy would have,
or JD.
Oh, either one.
Yeah.
And both were,
and I'm sure Joe and the coach really anticipated that.
So you've also got, Jimmy Johnson getting back in. He's now a partner over at GMS with Richard Petty and Maury Gallagher.
That's pretty exciting.
So it's cool to have Jimmy back.
Didn't you text back and forth with Jimmy Johnson about riding one of our cars?
I have.
And I didn't even get to ask him to ride one of our open wheel modifieds. Okay. But is that still a possibility now that he's an owner?
Well, who knows? Okay. But we have talked about that.
Push that.
We have talked.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And what were your impressions? I mean, just generally, and I'll ask you this one question because I know I could ask 50. What did you think about the year in NASCAR? I mean, from the Truck Series all the way to Cup.
I thought the competition level, the at-track looks as far as attendance, TV ratings, everything overall was as good as it's been probably in 10 years.
Yeah.
The one negative that was not only a concern, but it was frustrating and all these other things was the potential safety issues with the new car.
Yeah. I agree.
I do not understand how in 2022, heading into 2023, how we could have put a car on the track that could, look, if you're out there racing, running 200 miles an hour, bad things can happen. But I think we put a car on the track that could have potentially put our drivers in some bad situations. We saw some injuries. And I don't know what really made NASCAR or forced NASCAR to maybe put that car on the track without being as safe as it could possibly be. But I hope, it sounds like that they've made adjustments and will make adjustments, and everybody seems to be on board or in line to say that those changes will be positive. But if I give the sport as a whole, I'd say an A- to a B+ grade. And the only reason they don't get an A+ is the fact that we got a couple of our drivers hurt.
Yeah.
Concussion,
on wrecks that just didn't seem like that would have produced that.
I think, NASCAR never admits that they're wrong about anything.
Shocking.
But I think the fact that they have gone back to work so aggressively on trying to re-engineer the rear bumper area of these cars and dissipate some of that energy through the back of the cars before it gets to the driver, and the head and neck restraint system and the headrest and all that, tells me that they realize that there's work to do. And I think they're doing that. But overall, I think it was outside of that. I think there's much more parity in the sport. The races were much more competitive.
Yes.
You show up to watch a race on Sunday that wasn't really a dominant team car for long periods of time. I mean, Joey Logano, he wasn't a favorite all year. Ford struggled in a lot of cases.
True.
During the course of the year, but when it came down to crunch time, they got it done. So I hope NASCAR will fix the safety aspect to the extent that they can heading into next year, and I expect next year to be just as good.
I tend to agree with you. The only thing I had, which was a disappointment for me, was the short tracks were different. They were not as racy. There was not as much competition until Ross Chastain did his, rink rider right around Martinsville. But otherwise, I thought, the tracks they went to were great. I thought the racing was really good most times. I think there's a lot to build on. And what you're seeing now is the young drivers are making personalities of themselves to where, as the Harvicks retire, as the old guard goes out, that we remember the great thing to be. What I really see is the new drivers are actually going to be really going to be the new stars. So I I think you're exactly right in your assessment with what's going on in NASCAR. I'm excited for 2023, and I'm really excited about the Smart Series and our race team, the Sadler Stanley race team, when it comes to what we're going to do next year in not only the Smart Series but also the Whelen Modified. But
Yeah, a lot of news coming up about the second car at Sadler Stanley Racing and the Smart Modified Tour. The banquet will be January 7th in Winston-Salem, so we look forward to that. Smart Series has a lot to build on, and we have a lot of announcements and other things to make on our team moving into next year.
Another great podcast. Man, I like it when we're here personally. It's better than when we're on TV.
It's much better.
Yeah, it is.
Much better.
But you know what? I'm going to end with this because I know we got to go. But I know because I would talk another 10 minutes. But here I am all pressured, kind of nervous, kind of worried. I always get worried before the court case. Before we went on air, Hermie comes in, and within 15, 20 minutes, we're giggling, we're laughing, we're getting back to the way, that life should be. You're always a hell of an influence, and you made me feel better. So I want to thank you for that as I go into this trial. Hermie, you're a heck of an individual, and I'm proud to be your absolute best friend. You have no others but me. So
well, I'm happy to know that.
Except for Plug Moore, right?
Except Plug Moore, who gave you some words of encouragement early today as well. Hey, before we go, I want to thank the people at Pace-O-Matic one more time and remind our listeners to Pace-O-Matic that community means everything. And when people come together, anything is possible. Pace-O-Matic, they're proud supporters of the Smart Racing Tour and this podcast. They believe in building up the communities in which they do business. They consider it a privilege to give back and to provide support in any way possible. If you want to know more about Pace-O-Matic, visit us at paceomatic.com. That's www.paceomatic.com. So thanks to Pace-O-Matic for all they do for us. Appreciate our listeners and our supporters. And Bill, we'll be back next week with another show.
Make sure you look at find us on Facebook. That's Leaning Right, Turning Left podcast. You can find us on all major platforms for this podcast. Tell your friends, get them to listen. We really appreciate the support. Our audience is always growing. You can find our race team and our podcast on www.sadlerstanleyracing.com. God bless every single one of you during the holiday season. Make it a safe one. Make it a good one. I'm Virginia State Senator Bill Stanley, and I'm leaning right.
And I'm Hermie Sadler. I'm turning left. This is Leaning Right and Turning Left with Sadler and the Senator, powered by Pace-O-Matic. We'll see you next week.
God bless you all.
Hey guys, listen up. I know these days when you watch the news, it feels like it's one hit after another and it's all bad news for the economy. Well, let me give you some good news. It's not all that bad when it comes to real estate. Let me explain. You see, a year ago, man, real estate was hot, hot, hot. Everybody and their brother was trying to go out and buy another house. What did that mean? It was so competitive that a lot of folks got discouraged. So let me ask you, have you thought about buying a house in the last couple of years, but maybe just couldn't win a bid? I used to hear that all the time. Well, now is the time to buy. Yes, interest rates have creeped up a little bit, but what that's created is an opportunity for you. A year ago, it wasn't uncommon for there to be more than a dozen offers on a home, many of which were over list. That is not the case today. So if you got discouraged once before about trying to buy a new house, now's the time to take another look. Now, yes, interest rates have creeped up a little bit, but you're not going to overpay for the home. But here's what you will do. You'll stop throwing your money away on rent, and now you'll get a greater tax deduction. That's right. You see, at the end of the year, you're going to get a statement from your mortgage company that shows how much interest you paid, and you get to write all of that interest off. That means you could get a huge tax deduction. You never get that as a renter. Not only that, homes are still going up in value. Don't believe the hype. All of the economists believe long-term real estate always works out. Let me give you an example. Maybe way back when, in the housing collapse of 2008, you bought in 2007 and maybe overpaid. Buddy, if you hung in there, that house is worth a whole heck of a lot more now. If you've played in the stock market, you know what I'm talking about. You only lose money when you throw in the towel. Real estate long-term always performs well. So here's my advice to you. Date the rate, marry the house. Find the house that you and your family love long-term, because here's what's not long-term. These higher rates. I've yet to see a single economist who doesn't agree with me that rates are going to return. So doesn't it make sense to get the house you want right now? And then when rates improve, man, just get a lower monthly payment. In the meantime, you'll enjoy a greater tax deduction, and that property is going to continue to appreciate, meaning you're building equity and wealth for yourself. Not only that, how about this? We're going to save you some cash at buywithconrad.com. We're going to give you the peace of mind of a 7-year guarantee. When rates improve over the next 7 years, not if, but when, that's my prediction, we'll refinance you again with no new origination points. Think about that. That could save you thousands of dollars and give you the peace of mind of knowing that you got the right house for your family right now. And then when the rates improve, man, get a lower monthly payment. Now, you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but you do need to hurry to buywithconrad.com. That's the first step. You tell us how much you want to put down and what you want your monthly payment to be. We get you approved, and then you go shopping just like a cash buyer at buywithconrad.com. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Seriously, if you've thought about buying a house over the last couple of years, but you got discouraged, now's the time to take another look. Let me run the numbers for you right now. You'll be glad you did at buywithconrad.com.